Okay, today we're looking at this. It is the Marvo Scorpion KG901 mechanical gaming keyboard, which has got a retail price of £34.99. Yes, you heard me say it. It's mechanical and it's worth 35 quid. It says it's full anti-ghosting, it's got macro keys and it is programmable. It also says rainbow backlight and it has blue switches. Doesn't mention what maker switches, so it's not Grattan, Cherry or anything like that. So who knows, it's probably unbranded or done by themselves. The RGB, well, it's not RGB, it's rainbow backlight. So in my past experience, that basically means the keyboard will look like that and it'll keep waving back and front. And you won't actually be able to change the colours, but we'll find out. We'll have a look in the program or if there's any shortcuts on the keyboard to change the colour so it can be a specific colour or it constantly rolls across like that. But again, it's a mechanical keyboard for £35. So packaging looks pretty nice. You can see what you've got on the front, on the sides. That side basically just got your model number and the name. This side says it's driver programmable, full anti-ghosting, TKL layout, backlit keyboard and 50 million switch rating. So that basically means you can tap on it 50 million times and it should still work. On the back it tells you all the different features and everything, but it goes more into the blue mechanical switches, streamless gaming and rainbow illuminations. Okay, so inside the box you've got your keyboard, which we'll look at a bit closer in a minute, and you've got your installation guide, which is, to be honest with you, clear that it's been translated from another language into English. I had a look to see if there was any information about drivers or softwares, and it was very hard to figure out. And if you actually do want to install a driver, you have to actually look under this bit what says abnormal occurrences to actually even see a mention of a software download, and it does actually specify the product as a mouse. So it's obviously translated not the best, considering it has got the correct model number on the front and someone's made one or two mistakes there. But saying that, we did come across a few issues with the driver, or the download should I say, which I'll come to in a few minutes. Okay, so we have the keyboard itself. As you can see, it is all lit up, and as you can see, it's doing that rainbow effect I thought it would do. But according to the manual, there are some options of actually changing the brightness and the way the actual lights work. Okay, so you can set macros up on this apparently. What you have to do is basically go onto the function key here, then hit the slash, and then it'll come up into macro mode, and then it'll let you do your macro recording, which will support 5 groups. To change the colours, or as they call it, optically controlled, you hold the function key down and then you use these keys here. So yes, you can actually change the colouring. Well, not necessarily the colouring, you can change the way it lights the colours up. So no matter how you have it, this side's going to be red, it's going to be green, it's going to be blue and purple. So you can have it sort of going in a wave effect across. You can have it set up for WAS and D. You've got all over the place. You've got all on. You've got all off. And then you've got this zigzag effect. The cable itself is roughly 1.5 meters long, so that's adequate in length for most PCs. It isn't braided or anything like that, and the cable goes directly into the back of the machine through sort of some moulding on here and into the back, and it is quite sturdy. It is plastic though, feels quite sturdy. There are feet on the bottom, which is nice to see. It has actually got rubber on the end of the feet to stop it sliding, as well as another 4 rubber feet on there as well to stop it sliding on the desk. So hopefully that shouldn't move while you're gaming. So no, that's pretty solid. As you can see, I'm pushing that and it's actually wobbling the desk rather than the keyboard. So those rubber mats definitely do the job. The keycaps do come off. You just have to pull on them, as you can see there, and there you can see your blue switches on the keyboard, so you can see exactly how it lights up, and then obviously the light hits the back of the key, which then shows the colour, around the edges and through the actual keys, so the actual writing does light up. And probably a little bit better, let me just turn the lights off in here to give you a rough idea. With the lights off, There you go. So it gives you a bit of a rough idea what the lights look like in dark environment. Bear in mind, it does actually look slightly brighter on the camera than it actually is in person, but it's still adequate, but it's definitely not the brightest I've ever seen. I'd say out of a brightness level of up to 10, where I've seen some really bright keyboards, I'd probably rate this around about a 5 or a 6. So it's good, but it's not the brightest in the world. But then again, how bright do you actually need it? If you hadn't noticed, the keyboard is actually what you class as a 10 keyless. If you're not sure what 10 keyless means, it means it's missing the keys over here, so it's your number pad, or depending on how you want to say it, number pad less, but they call it 10 keyless. Okay, so let's go and install the software. And unfortunately, we've come across an issue, and we've had this with one of their headsets before, where basically you download the software on the website, which is marvo-tech.com, you unzip it, goes fine, and then you open the zip folders and you get here. So you're supposed to run update first, and in the instructions it tells you to press this blue button, and that's going through, and supposedly, I'm presuming, it's updating the keyboard to the latest firmware. When it's actually done, it's hard to say because it's not in English, so you don't know if it's actually done or not. But if you press the X, I'm presuming it's done with a blue bar gone all the way across, and everything seems to be working on the keyboard again. So you close that, and then you run the installation file. You run the installation file, you get, are you sure? You press yes, and oops. And it comes up and says runtime error basically, and programming a load of gobbledygook, and gives you the option to OK. So it doesn't actually tell you what the problem is. We came across this problem with another product of theirs in the past, and I have seen this before on other items. And the way to fix this is to rename the folder that it's unzipped to. Apparently there's lots of characters, or it's too long, the name is, what causes the problem. So you have to go back to the parent folder, rename it 123 or whatever you want, and then go back to the parent folder of that and rename it 123, then go back in there and run it, and it should work. See? Other option is on that one, because it's an exe file, you could just copy that file to another location on your machine and it should install as well. But unfortunately, when you unzip it and run it as you're supposed to, you have this problem. Once the software is installed, you've got to then run the software. It won't let you run it if the keyboard's not in. Unfortunately, with Marvo products, it seems to put a different program on for every single Marvo product you want to use. You can see the other Marvo products I've installed there. So as you can see, it soon adds up with lots of icons. But once you open the program up, you can see it there. Again, there isn't much in the way of instructions, so you're sort of guessing what does what. So if you click on a key, it comes up and says please input a single key. Is this to rebind it, I'm presuming? Who knows? You've got option on the left for light, which is like a little tick box, so you can change it between different effects. So you can have waterfalls, normally on, off, and all your different options like that. So it's interesting that there, and you can change the brightness. That's on the brightest at the moment. So it's a little strange to get into the options. You have to tick a little box. Seems that the software, whoever develops it, needs to develop it a little bit more. It just needs a bit more polish on it, and sometimes finding stuff is not easy to do. You've also got sections at the tops for your different profiles, which is pretty good, and you've got your macro area here, so you can create new macros. There isn't much though information there telling you how you do this, so a lot of it is guesswork. Then you've got a reset to default at the bottom left, which is good because more than likely you're going to make a mistake because there is no real instructions of how to use the software. Or at least, let's put it this way, if there is instructions to use the software, they've hidden it somewhere, a bit like they did with the light settings. Okay, for those of you who are into decibel levels, want to know how noisy this actually is, our normal room decibel level is around about 44-45 decibels, as you can see here. When you're typing on the keyboard, let's just say one key, the decibel levels are roughly in the low mid 70s. If you type in pretty quick, you're getting to that mid and high 70s, so it's not too bad. Otherwise, this is actually a pretty good keyboard, especially for the price. So it's only, what, roughly £35. For 35 quid, you're getting yourself a mechanical 10 keyless keyboard which has got some backlighting on it. May not be RGB, but still it's backlighting, and it does look pretty good for what it is. It seems to have a good build quality. It's solid. You can hear from the weight of it. It's got your feet on the bottom, which is good. You've got your ducting on the bottom, so you can adjust where you have your cable coming out in the middle or either side, and you've got the rubberized feet including on the stands, which will obviously stop it slipping around, which is a bonus, because I see a lot of keyboards, especially gaming ones, where they don't have any rubber on the back stands, which causes the keyboard to slide back a little bit, but this thing does not want to budge. So overall, very good keyboard. Only main disappointing thing about it is the software, as in, you don't really know there is software. I had to really look on the website to see if there was, and yes there is. It says download new, not download now, and then when you do download it, you have to rename the folders once you've unzipped them, or move the file you want to set it up with elsewhere, otherwise you're going to have problems.